You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, presented by the Nation Network. Subscribe for free on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Oilersnation Radio, episode 94. This is a take two, because you're never going to hear that intro. I just fucked up.
How was that?
As always, I want to thank our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant out in beautiful Sherwood Park, Alberta, for helping make all this possible. Go ahead and follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood Ford _the Giant. If you need service, if you need a new car, if you just want to go chat to a wonderful human being, the people at Sherwood Ford are there for you. Today, gentlemen, like I said, episode 94. It's the Ryan Smyth episode. So I wanted to kick off today's podcast with a look back at the man himself. He bled blue and orange for seasons and seasons. He was arguably one of the best players to ever don a jersey, even though he never got to be a point-per-game player at any point in his career. Ryan Smyth. So I just want to start off, go around the horn real quick, spend a couple of minutes talking about Smytty. What is your favorite Ryan Smyth moment? What is your favorite part about him as a player? What did you love about him? Nation Dan, I'm going to kick things off with you, looking at Ryan Smyth.
Well, I think that somebody's going to say the other one that I was thinking of having to do with the playoffs, but one of my favorite moments, and it's just kind of because it's just the way the world was, and it was funny to laugh at. It's funny to laugh at looking back at it now, but it was when Sportsnet had Eklund on their trade deadline show.
And this is your favorite Ryan Smyth moment?
I think it's funny. For me, like my favorite moment of his is when he took a Chris Pronger shot to the chops, and
it was a pass. It was a pass.
And came back from that within 2 shifts, and missing 3 chiclets or whatever it was. That's a beautiful moment, and it's like it embodies what the Oilers were at that time, which is just like heart and soul with Chris Pronger as the leader with Rolison in the back end. But I get such a kick out of thinking of that moment in time now, looking back at it, right? Like it would be like Sportsnet having one of us on their daily deadline,
which they should. Which they should. And just to
I'll take a day off work if they need it.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to take a day off work for the trade deadline when it actually used to be fun back in the day.
We can all sit in the same place, and they can just cut to us every now and then.
Yeah,
they can just cut. But do we want? Are we Sportsnet or are we TSN though?
I would rather be TSN because like there would be a chance to like play with a llama or something. Like James Duthie's always got shenanigans.
In general,
I don't know if Tyler would be allowed to. I don't think Tyler would be allowed to show up on the other one.
No, I wouldn't be allowed on Sportsnet.
We'd have to blur out his face and change his voice. But that's really what they did with Eklund back then anyways, right? So
yeah. Well, I was just going to say, if you remember, if you're old enough to remember it, Eklund sat in like a shadow in the back of the studio, and it was hilarious to look at.
It was Deal or No Deal style. Back when Deal or No Deal was huge.
Exactly like that. Yeah, and it was super weird. Super, super weird. And if you just to finish off Dan's horrible story with Ryan Smyth, kick off the Ryan Smyth episode, Eklund announced that the Oilers had just re-signed him to a 5-year extension or something like that, and literally within 10 minutes he was gone to the Islanders. Like it was, I remember being so heartbroken. That was a roller coaster of emotions that a young bag milk will never recover from. I'm still upset about. I'm still upset with Eklund about it.
I still hit at him probably once every 3 months about it.
And he probably gave it an E5 too at the time.
Yep.
We have gotten off the rails. Rick, what is your favorite Ryan Smyth memory? Let's get back on the rails here.
Well, sure as hell wasn't that. That definitely wasn't. And yeah, I think that's on both sides, but whatever, that's besides the point. One of my favorite Smitty memories is we were playing Chicago. So it was in an Olympic year. We were playing Chicago. That's when he gets knocked down behind the goal line, breaks his ankle. And I want to say it's late November. And somehow he's able to restructure that thing, put it back together, tape everything back up again, and still make the Canadian Olympic team. It was always really cool for us because we didn't have a lot of to cheer for in the playoffs or anything like that. So if we got any type of notoriety outside the NHL, we were always excited. So, Smitty was always, Captain Canada. He was on every world championship team. But this was the best of the best, and he still cracked that lineup. And then he goes out and breaks his ankle. And, that's pretty much all that was everything we had just kind of crashed that day. And yet somehow he's able to pull himself together, tape everything back up again, and still make that team and still go out there and be a player during that whole Olympics. That, to me, is who he is as a player and as a person. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. He's got the skill to be in the top echelon of these guys, but he had the heart and the grit and the determination to get through something that bad, something that traumatic, and still come out and persevere on the end of it and make that team.
Tyler Yaremchuk, looking at you, your favorite Ryan Smyth memories, moments, or whatever you got.
A lot of people are going to go ahead and say, the playoffs and stuff like that, getting hit in the teeth, coming back. For me, there's a couple, though, because I think what was so unique about Ryan Smyth wasn't necessarily his skill set or anything like that, but it was his connection to the fan base, right? So I remember that first home game when he came back to Edmonton, and I remember going to that game, and there were so many Ryan Smyth jerseys there, and I wasn't too old at the time, but I just remember being blown away that, it literally seemed like everyone showed up to this rink, to Rexall, with Ryan Smyth jerseys on. And my other one was his farewell, getting to watch him in that last game.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't there. I was watching it on TV. But getting to watch him, with the C on his chest and getting to see all the ovations, him playing 3 minutes on the power play because they're trying to get him the record. Just those kind of special moments between him and the fan base are what stand out for me when I think of Smytty.
That last game, and they would never give us credit for it. And I wouldn't expect the Oilers to. And they would say it was a plan that they had all along, which I don't buy. We had Smytty for captain trending Canada-wide for days leading up to that game because Andrew Ference was hurt at the time. He wasn't playing. And we thought it would be fun, and we got it trending. And then when he popped out with the C on his chest for the last game, that was pretty cool. For me, though, an often forgotten Smytty moment is that he has the fastest hat trick in Oilers history. He got 3 goals in a span of 2 minutes and 1 second. And I would, I wish I could look at the highlights quickly. They're not coming up for me. My internet's shit right now, but I'm pretty sure he didn't shoot any of those pucks. I'm pretty sure at least 2 of them bounced off him, and maybe he pushed one in. But that's one of the things that I loved about Ryan Smyth. In 1,270 games, he scored 386 goals. And I would guess that he was within a foot or 2 of the crease for 75% of them?
Probably.
It's one of those skill sets I think that he had that's kind of, you don't see it much anymore. Like Thomas Holmstrom in Detroit was a guy that parked himself in front of the net, picked up a lot of garbage goals. Smytty was always in front of the net. He had that hilarious blade that was the size of a canoe paddle. It was one of those skill sets that I don't really see as much anymore, where people that's all they do. It's kind of like feast or famine right in front of the net. And I always loved that about Ryan Smyth. He was a warrior. He would play hurt. He took endless abuse. He was just great to watch. And over parts of 15 seasons with the Oilers, he ended up with 971 games played, 296 goals, 335 assists for 631 points. The guy's a legend. The way he speaks about the city is amazing. And, I just wanted to spend a few minutes starting off this week's podcast, episode 94, talking about Ryan Smyth. He's a hero. If I was ever going to get a jersey that was not Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, it would probably be Ryan Smyth. Anything else, boys? Smitty?
I think you nailed it.
Little love? He's great. He was great. Changing gears, getting back to the current NHL. Tyler Yaremchuk has a Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week.
I do have a Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week. Thank you very much, Mr. Bagged Milk. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to take the Sherwood Ford Giant question segment, and I'm going to focus it on the upcoming play-in series, doing a little preview action. So my question this week, outside of Edmonton versus Chicago, which play-in series in the Western Conference are you looking forward to the most? And let me rattle them off to you real quickly here. So obviously you have Edmonton against Chicago. You have Arizona taking on Nashville, which could be interesting. Minnesota taking on Vancouver, and then Calgary taking on Winnipeg. Does anyone want to step up first with this one here?
Yeah, I can. I think probably the most intriguing one for everybody overall would probably be the Flames and the Jets. But for me, I agree with Tyler. I think that there's something sneaky good about this Nashville-Arizona series. The Taylor Hall element with Arizona, where they were looking like they may not even make the playoffs, and now they're here. Nashville, it's kind of the end of Nashville. I don't know. Like it feels like that team isn't really where it was even 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they made the playoffs. And we possibly could have faced them if Anaheim hadn't held the pads and all that good stuff. But yeah, I think the Nashville and the Arizona series just has like a sneaky good element to it.
I think honestly the best one is going to be outside of ours. Obviously, it has to be the Calgary-Winnipeg one. They're both two teams that really don't like each other. Both Western, they're just good. It's just going to be really rough, and they're both kind of equal. Whereas these other ones, I'm sorry, man, I don't see Arizona doing shit. Nashville's going to stomp those guys. Minnesota, Vancouver, that's boring. Vancouver can play a fun game. Minnesota's boring. That's not going to be very fun. Who knows what can happen in the Calgary-Winnipeg series? That could be, it could be high scoring. It could be great defense. It could get rough and dirty. There's a lot more dynamite in that series that could just go off, and who knows what happens. So that's the one that I will watch outside of ours in the West.
I agree with Rick 100%. I think that Winnipeg-Calgary series, I think Winnipeg's the better team, but I think it's tight. I think it'll be two Canadian teams. I think that's the one who, in a playoffs or play-in series where you're not sure with no fans what the emotions will be like and all that, I think emotions will be high. I think it'll be a very entertaining series between the Flames and Jets. Bag Milk?
Just in an effort, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think that any road that could potentially get us towards a playoff battle of Alberta is what I want to see. And obviously the Oilers have to get past Chicago. They would have to get back to the Jets or the Stars, blah, blah, blah.
When we get past Chicago.
Thank you, Rick. Of course, when we get past Chicago. So any road that would lead to a potential battle of Alberta is what I would look forward to most. But in the effort of being different, I'm going to say Vancouver and Minnesota because I hate to say it, but I'm intrigued by the Canucks. They've got a good young core. They've got the potential to be a very good hockey team moving forward. And as we mentioned a week or two ago, the last thing I fucking need is Vancouver to have any shot at Alex Lafreniere. Because it would suck if he goes to Calgary, but I don't think Calgary's got a young core that would benefit quite as much of growing up together as Vancouver would. So I need Vancouver to beat Minnesota, and that's going to be a series that I'm watching for selfish reasons, and it could be interesting. Like I said, Vancouver's got some young guys that have some skill, and it could be fun to watch.
Vancouver's a fun team to watch, but it's the Minnesota there that turns me off. That just says, they're not a very fun team to watch. They never have been. I really don't see that one.
Which is always amazing, right? Like Jacques Lemaire, he's been gone for years and years, and yet they're still fucking boring. I don't understand how that happens. It's like an organizational staple that the Minnesota Wild are going to be a boring team to watch, and I just don't understand it.
It's like they've tried to shift away from it now 2 and 3 times with different regimes, and every single time they seem to bung it up. They brought in Suter. They threw Brinks trucks at Suter and Parise, and that was supposed to really change the elements. And they were bringing in a star player in Parise, and he was going to lead this team into a new kind of era of excitement. And then at the first sign of trouble, it's like, well, what really worked out for us was when Jacques Lemaire was the coach, and we played a stingy, stifly, ugly, Eastern European type of game. And it just seems like that's kind of their default answer. And so it's weird to see an organization that is 2007 maybe was the last time Lemaire was there. Maybe I'm misremembering that,
but right.
Yeah. So I mean that's a team that can't get away from that identity 7 and 8 years later, right? No, sorry, not 17 and 18 years later.
I think the point of the story that you're having here, Dan, is none of us are good at math.
Yeah, that's always going to be
the memory thing that's starting to kick on us there. At least for a couple of us. Chuck's still pretty young, so he's still running on all cylinders. The rest of us, maybe a couple.
Well, I also saw he was fact checking. I saw he was fact checking, so I thought he might come with the actual number for me.
No, I was not fact checking that.
Oh, okay.
We did mention briefly the Pred series, and that actually just kind of reminded me that Tyler and I got some bad news with the new CBA this week. That Tyler, run us through it, because it was a bummer for both of us, I know.
Yeah, so we've ran through it a handful of times on the pod about the cap recapture penalty that faces the Nashville Predators if Shea Weber were to retire before his massive contract expires, which was originally an offer sheet that the Philadelphia Flyers put out that was matched by the Predators. They then traded him to Montreal. But if Shea Weber would have retired in like 2025 or something like that.
This was a ridiculous number for the record.
Yeah, the next season, Nashville would have had like a $24 million cap recapture penalty. We've talked about it 4 or 5 times, and every single time it's hilarious. Because can you imagine a team having to, in one summer, be like, fuck, we got to get rid of $24 million in cap space? But with the new CBA, the league put in some language that would prevent that from happening, meaning that there will be no massive cap recapture penalty for the Nashville Predators. And that upsets me because I wanted some chaos. I wanted a fire sale. I wanted the Predators to go into a season and be like, we can literally only afford 19 players. If more than one guy gets hurt, we're screwed.
I'll play for
Shea Weber. Right as soon as the playoffs are over for the Canadians, Shea Weber is going to announce his retirement, and he's going to have been begging and petitioning the league to put in this rule so he could do this and not absolutely throw the Nashville Predators into chaos.
He's like, guys, I can barely walk, never mind skate.
I've been doing it as a favor to the Predators for giving me those years.
What a bummer. Can't the NHL just give Tyler and I some joy outside of...
We don't ask for much.
No.
You know what annoys me is that they rewrote this rule in the middle time, yet they never once went in there and did anything about the Oilers draft picks when we brought in fucking Pete and whoever the hell else was.
Yeah, no kidding.
Unbelievable. Well, there's your Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week. Kind of fell off the rails there at the end, but you know what? It happens. Sherwood Ford, we love you. Go check them out in Sherwood Park, Alberta. Follow them on Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood Ford _the Giants. Check out the whips they're posting. They're beautiful. If you need a new whip, go see him. If you need service, go see him. If you want to see Gus, make an appointment. He's got shit to do. I want to stick with the playoffs a little bit because news from the AGLC came down today that we are going to be able to buy online 50-50 tickets for Edmonton Oilers games for all Albertans. And it's going to be going to local charities. This is going to be new for us. Because as a city, as a province, and even as the prairies, as Rick said before we started recording, we fucking love a 50-50. We love a 50-50. And when you're at Rogers Place and sometimes you see the number climbing and climbing and climbing, especially if you've got a good Saturday night game where the crowd is kind of, you had a couple of cocktails or whatever, it gets up there. So now I can only imagine what we're going to be looking at when all of us are at home, ready to do a little gambling, if you will. Gambling in the name of charity for an online 50-50. So I thought, with this news coming out today, a very quick little exercise we could do that I'm going to take a record of, and we'll revisit once the playoffs actually get started here, is what is the first online 50-50 going to look like in Game 1 between the Edmonton Oilers and Chicago Blackhawks?
I was going to give you guys a little bit of context, seeing as this is a new thing to Alberta, but it's been something that's existed for a couple of years in BC. The BC prizes for the last, 5 games of the Canucks season. So that'll kind of, you can gauge on whether the Canucks are better in your mind or whatever. But on March the 10th, they gave away $79,000. On March the 8th, they gave away $63,000.
Fucking child's play, man.
Yeah, but that is a province-wide digital version of the 50-50 that also plays within the arena.
Yeah, they don't have enough money. They have to pay their taxes over there. That HST or whatever the hell they have over there. No wonder they don't have extra money to spend on these things. Dude, I'm telling you, this is going to be an absolutely astronomical number. You said it's allowed to be anybody in Alberta?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's open to all Albertans.
So what's the time limit in here? Obviously, the same as before. So third period. When can you start?
That's a good question.
I would imagine it's going to be 20 minutes before puck drop.
Okay, let's just say it's the same hours as live. Dude, it's going to be close to $1 million.
You think that high?
Hang on. I got to write these down.
Okay,
Rick, Rick coming in first bid.
I'm going to take the 7-digit number.
Okay,
and here's why.
Price is Right rules.
Here's why. We can get north of $150,000 with just the people in the building.
Well, that's what I was saying.
People in the building.
So what I was
now you're going from 18,000 to 3, 4, 5 million.
So what I was looking at when Dan was reading these numbers off for BC, first of all I could think about is BC sucks at 50-50. They don't know how to do it right.
That's embarrassing.
Well, I will say they did a COVID relief raffle that gave away $250,000, then $300,000,
Not the same.
and then $186,000. But not the same. But
not
just,
a 50-50.
But just saying, it's still a 50-50 because you could win half the prize.
So, okay. So what we've got going on here, just again, I want to make sure that Rick is also understanding of the rules because he dropped a huge number off the bat.
I'm coming out high on this one.
We are playing Game 1, Oilers versus Chicago.
Okay, Game 1, that's different then. All right.
Game 1, Oilers versus Chicago. You would think that hype is going to be at a max.
It won't be at a max. The max will be when if we were to play Calgary sometime.
Oh, could you imagine the 50-50 if the Battle of Alberta happens?
But Game 1, I tell you this right now: if we get the proper, if everything aligns properly, it'll come real close to $1 million. Game 1 against Chicago, I'll throw it down at $500,000.
Okay, so we're gonna do.
But we will hit $1 million.
Okay, well, that's half of what you said originally.
Together.
So it's not as bold as it was.
Well, no,
right,
I just thought like the highest we can get to. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to do 2 then because Rick is inspired by some online gambling here. So what we're going to do...
Look at him. His eyes are in the back of it. He's trying to figure out how much he can afford on the Game 1. Like if I don't gamble, if I don't take the over, if the spread's not there, what if I just go all on 50-50? And then he's going to start pushing it on Twitter too, right?
Yeah, I have that kind of pull.
Tyler is a major celebrity, and he has that. So we're going to do 2 bets here. Both of these are going to be Prices Right style. So the first one is going to be Game 1, Oilers, Blackhawks. The second is going to be the highest 50-50 we got.
I like it.
We're talking about playoffs. So again, we're playing Prices Right rules. We'll have to come up with some kind of prize because I feel like we need to have a prize here. We need to have some kind of vested interest in our bet here. Or otherwise we're just throwing around numbers for the sake of throwing around numbers. So as the weeks progress, let's think of a prize. I'm going to write this down for next week. We're going to brainstorm some prizes. If you're listening to this right now, please play along. I'm sure I can squeeze Jared for some nation gear for some listeners. If you are winners, something like that. Let's get more people involved in this. So right now, Game 1, we've got Rick at, are you going 500K?
Yes, sir.
And what about total bet, Rick? Or actually, you know what? Let's go around for Game 1 first, and then we'll go around playoff high. So I go, okay, I'm going to go Tyler now. He is our resident degenerate. So Game 1, Tyler, what is your guess?
$325,000, Bob.
$325,000. Mr. Nation. Dan, your Game 1 bet.
Well, shit. Because of the Price is Right rules, I probably was going to say 250,000, but I'm going to say 200,000 just to give me some kind of cushion there with Tyler. Unless Bag Milk, you come in the middle.
I was tempted to go, in the spirit of Price is Right. I was
$1.
I was going to go $1 because Rick, when he came in at $1 million before we kind of clarified everything, I was like, oh man, this is easy money for me at $1. But Game 1. I'm trying to think of where we were when we were in Winnipeg for the Heritage Classic. It was a long drive to get there, but I remember the 50-50 being obnoxious, and that was a football stadium filled with people.
We've thrown down some good ones. Edmonton has thrown down some good ones. Edmonton Riders with a carryover of like 80 grand or something like that went to almost 400.
Yeah. Not the highest though. The highest in Edmonton has been 435,000.
Was that the one where it was boosted though by Bel Air?
The Red Blacks, and no, that was
the OG, the very first rollover, the Saskatchewan Riders. We played the Riders, and people were like standing in 50-50 lines for the entire first half. I was lucky and found a dude, and I was in and out in like 3 minutes. But yeah, it got really bad.
The biggest was July the 14th against the Red Blacks, $435,000.
That was like last year, 2 years ago.
2017.
Yeah, and I remember that they learned their lessons after the first time. They had like the lines were kind of like set up properly.
Yeah, that's exactly the issue, right?
Everybody had like 19 rolls of paper in their pockets and socks and shit, so they can reload on the fly.
That's why I went 200,000 because I assumed that there's going to be technical issues on the first one. Oh. I assume that it's going to blow up and there's going to be something goes wrong.
I am going to go 501,000.
Oh, dick! I love it.
501,000. This is game one. This is the spirit of prices right here. All right.
Okay,
you gotta flip the order for this next one though, Bag.
Yeah, I was just gonna say absolutely.
Okay, that is 1,000% fair. So just to recap our game one bets, we've got Rick at 500K. We've got Tyler at 325,000. We've got Dan at 200,000, and I went over the top at 501K. So that's game one versus the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, playoff high. Playoff high. So,
just Oiler games, right?
Do you guys want to do? Let's talk about it. Do you guys want to do just Oilers games, or do you want to do a actual Western Hub playoff high?
Well,
no, just Oilers games.
Edmonton's going to be probably the highest anyways. Maybe Calgary gets a couple bucks higher, but it'd be between those two teams. All
right. So if we're going to stick with Oilers playoff high for the 50-50, I'm going to come in at 725,000. And then the reverse, who is it? Who's up next? Dan?
That was me. Yeah, that's me. I think as a caveat too, if it's over 200,000 more than the $501,000, or below my 200,000, a random listener that sent in their prediction should win the Nation gear or something.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
That sounds good. Okay, so my pick would be $435,919.
Hang on, $435,919.
Yeah,
that was a very specific Dan bet. I like it. I respect it. Mr. Tyler Yaremchuk, your Oilers playoff high for the 50-50.
My playoff high will be $750,000.
$750,000. And Rick, last word. Playoff high Edmonton Oilers game for the 50-50.
Hold on, I'm just writing this one down here because we're gonna do this in a certain way. So that's,
this would also be a good This would also be a good graphic too, Tyler.
972,925. 97, 29, 25. Let's go.
972,925. So we got the McDiesel, Draisaitl, and Nurse.
25. There you go.
All right, so Oilers playoff highs. This is what we got. The four bets. So we got Dan is the low guy on this one, which is funny because it's still $435,919. Then it is me coming up next at $725K. Tyler coming in at $750K, and then up high we got Rick at $972,925.
What was yours, Bag?
I am for the total high, it's $725,000.
And to be fair, to hit my number, we probably need some Oilers Flames.
Well, and that's part of the bet, though, right?
You never know, right? Though
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like I'm betting on the two teams getting there. In which case, the 50-50 is going to go absolutely apeshit. And if I'm sitting at close to $500,000 for the Oilers and Hawks, Oilers and Flames, that's gonna go crazy, man.
But I even think that, and to quote Rick again, when they get past the Blackhawks, I even think that like a Saturday night game, let's say it's the late slot against Dallas, I feel like there's just like an ingrained hatred against Dallas for people of our vintage, Rick, that I think that we might see some big ones against Dallas also.
Oh, 100%.
So this is, if you're listening to this right now, please tweet at us. I want you to be DMing Tyler on Instagram at ON Radio Podcast. Hit us up on Twitter at any of our accounts. I want to know your bets. We're going to put out a graphic. We're going to come up with some kind of prizing as we move forward here. We got a little bit of time to figure it out, but I like this a lot. A little bit of prices right bets on the 50-50. And I'm also going to ask people, I'm going to write some totals down tonight on Nation Happy Hour at 5:30 Mountain every Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to take some bets there too as well. So I like this, boys. I like this a lot. I don't think that if there's one thing that this podcast could use is a little bit of shenanigans like this amongst the four of us, and I like it. Speaking of things I like, I also like our friends at skipthedishes.ca. They love what we do so much on this podcast that they decide to renew their contract, and I love them for it. Just like I love the ability to order a half-pound beef and chat from Arby's that is now in my hood.
Oh, baby.
Rick, have you got one of those yet?
You know I have.
It is hilarious. I did it. So it's free delivery on skipthedishes.ca from Arby's if you get an order over $20. And to me, that's an easy challenge. No problem. $20.
Two half pounders, you're almost there.
get it done. So I was like, okay, I'm going to order a normal beef and ched because I love them. Normally I get 3 beef and cheds and some curly fries and a Pepsi. That's my normal go-to. But this
3
time
beef and cheds?
Yeah.
Do you have an accountant? They're
no.
2 for $8. Usually the special is 2 for $8. So you get 4 for $16. Though I will tell you this right now is the TV, when it lies to me and tells me I can get 2 for $6, I get really excited. But then I remember that's the American station.
Well, back in the 90s, I'm sure you guys will remember the 5 for 5s, and Arby's needs to bring those back. So I got a beef and ched and then the half pounder, and that thing is hilarious, Tyler. For a gentleman like yourself, I know you're watching your carbs, but you're all about the meats. Go for the half pounder. Go to skipthedishes.ca. Any restaurant around the city that is listed there is going to be delicious for you, I promise. And as Tyler always says, please tip your drivers. They're putting themselves at risk to bring you food and keep you fed, and that's what it's all about. Skipthedishes.ca. Get yourself something to eat. It's Friday night. What else are you doing? Or whenever you listen to this. Whatever. They're open all day. Skipthedishes.ca. Thank you. Another thing that came out today that I thought was kind of funny regarding the playoffs is hotel assignments for the Western hubs. So these were based on seating is where they ended up. And the 2 hotels are the JW Marriott, which is attached to Rogers Place via the Pedway. And there's also Sutton Place, which is just down the road.
It's also connected. You can also get there via Pedway underground. You don't have to go outside. That's why. Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man.
Cool. We've got tunnels and shit. I just thought it was funny that Oilers, our beloved Oilers, are on the J-Dub. Sucks the boys can't go home. We all saw the video of Connor's house that was circling the socials the other day. It is a beautiful place. Anybody would want to stay there. But he'll be in the JW Marriott. I just found it funny that the Vancouver Canucks, Calgary Flames, and Winnipeg Jets are at Sutton Place.
It almost feels like the Oilers picked who they didn't want to stay in their hotel, and then to throw everyone off the scent, we're like, okay, and also the Minnesota Wild.
So the full list at both.
This had to have been an NHL decision, no?
Oh yeah.
Okay, good. I just want, I do love any type of thought that this is we're sitting there going, no, Calgary's definitely going over there. Yeah, definitely Vancouver and Sutton Place, yeah, for sure.
It's an equal split of the 2 based on ranking, so it's just
math.
Yeah.
But this morning, one of the first things I saw this morning when I opened up Twitter was at Coom. Shout out to Cam Lewis. He had a funny tweet that until I dug into it and saw how they actually split up the teams, it was so funny because Cam made me laugh. He's like, look at the Oilers going out of their way to put the Flames and Canucks in the shittiest hotel. That's the pettiness I love and I crave. Yeah, that's not how it worked. But like Tyler just said, it just kind of seemed a little bit funny that those were the teams that ended up at the Sutton. But we're getting closer.
They should have been better in the regular season if they want to stay at the J-Dub. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. You should have been better, but you weren't. So
that's true.
Enjoy your Sutton Place experience.
Enjoy. I'm sure they have a
at least it is. But this is what I like is that we know where they are, right? As fans, you guys remember? I know some of you guys, but in the late '90s, when Dallas was here, what were fans doing?
Shenanigans.
Exactly. They were out there. They were setting off the fire alarm. They were creating noise. They were making it very, very, very uncomfortable to relax in your hotel. Well, guess what? We know where they are again.
No, Rick.
Get them.
No, Rick. We're supposed to be a good hub city.
No, screw that, man. Fucking Philadelphia is one of the coolest sports towns in the world, and they are assholes to everybody. Let's do that. Let's show them that Edmonton is not a very fun place to be from a visitor's point of view. Let's get the damn marching band out there, and I'll do the drumming if I have to, and we'll just march around that damn hotel all damn night, and I will hit the damn drums. Let's go.
Damn.
This is not a very fun place. This is not supposed to be a nice place for people to play.
We at Oilersnation Radio do not encourage anybody to harass the NHLers that'll be in our town for the play-in rounds, just as a FYI. Speaking of harassing people, Rick, also this week that got released, Edmonton, the referees at Edmonton will be getting.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Here we
Mark
go.
Jonette, Rick's favorite, Steve Kazari.
Yeah, Kazari, like I said, I got to find my way into the building now. Kazari can't be getting away with shit this time.
And if you don't remember Steve Kazari, he is the one that Connor encouraged to check his work.
Yes.
By pointing upstairs. So we got Mark Joannette, Steve Kazari, TJ Luxmore, John McIsaac, Brad Meyer, Brian Pokmara, Dan O'Rourke, Chris Rooney, Francois St. Laurent, and Kelly Sutherland. Rick, is there anyone else on this list that you dislike? I don't really tend to be honest.
I had a run-in with O'Rourke. I had a run-in with O'Rourke this year. I can't remember exactly what it is. I may have to go back to our referee so he can refresh me as to what it is. But I'll tell you this right now. One of the things I'm most happy to see is Graham Skilleter is not on either
you
set.
You fucking hate him.
He from the hit from behind that was like 3 feet in front of him 4 or 5 years ago, whatever the hell it was. I think it was Matty Benning who got hit run from behind right in front of the damn guy. He didn't put his arm up. He didn't even flinch.
And what I was going to say is I find it amazing that you remember this stuff because I don't know about the rest of you guys. Is like I don't know anything about these refs. I just don't remember.
You know what? It's more about PTSD. Like someone says their name, and the hairs stand up, and I start to tingle. I'm like, okay, no, there's definitely I've had an issue with this guy.
When you list off their names, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know that's a ref. I know that's a ref. Like if you did a test where you listed off 10 names and half of them were NHL refs and half of them were just made up nonsense, I could tell you which ones were NHL refs, but I don't remember specific games being like, oh man, I remember like what Rick just did like 5 years ago when Matt Benning got ran by from behind and Skilleter didn't remember. Like honestly barely even remember Kazari.
Connor thing was 3 years ago.
Yeah, I barely remember that one, and that's just because there's been a lot of talk about how like the numbers since then kind of skew when Kazari is officiating Oilers games. But no, I never really like hold a vendetta against refs unless it's Surveyor Brett. Then I always hold that grudge.
Yeah, we can always hold things against Surveyor Brett. The only one I really remember, and Dan, I want to check in with you if you remember anybody as well. The only one I really remember is Mick Magoo fucking the Oilers with the hand pass.
That one still upsets me. We scored that fucking goal, man. There was 10 seconds left in the game. Horka wins the draw back. He did not use his fucking hand. A big shot from the point goes right in, and Mick Magoo not quietly just saying no goal. He gets out here and he's trying to be like on a pedestal. He's flapping his arms around like a goddamn bird, and he made an ass of himself twice that night. Once just doing that, and twice when you look at the review and hit that hand was nowhere near the fuck.
Dan, you got any ref memories that are stored in that brain bank of yours?
Well, see, yeah, I'm kind of like you guys and unlike Rick, in that I don't apply like certain calls to referees as much as just in junior hockey in Halifax. I don't know if you guys knew, but I used to live there for a time.
You lived in Halifax?
Come on.
The Halifax Mooseheads and the QMJHL, like I think that they were like low on refs, so they always had the same crews in Halifax and in each locale, so they didn't have to move around as much. And so we always had this one referee, Craig Langell, and it was just a fucking, just one of those things. He just didn't like to call positive the Mooseheads because he wanted to make the show or something, and so he wanted to show that he wasn't the hometown guy.
I mean, I guess I don't care about refs all that much. They're all bad to me. They're all bad.
No, man, there's who's the dude out there in the East? Wes McCauley. Yeah. He's got a damn TV show, hasn't he?
Does he?
Or they have they do a little skit there on TSN.
Oh, is he the guy that does is he the guy that does the hilarious
fighting? Yeah. The punches in there. That dude.
Yeah.
After looking at the goal, we've determined it is no goal.
Yeah, it sits there. Oh, it's dropping the baseline there.
Was he also the guy that said 2 minutes for you can't do that?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that. All right. So you know what? He gets some love. Wes McCauley is his name.
Yeah. If I'm gonna shit on guys, then I gotta make sure I'm doing the exact opposite and propping them up when they do a good job, right?
He'll be here for the Stanley Cup, though, I would imagine, or the conference final.
Probably.
Oh, maybe I can buy him a beer.
See, everything's coming up, Millhouse. All right, gentlemen. Another thing that is going to be interesting to watch as we get closer. We're 3 weeks away from playoff hockey. One thing that is been put out there is that players, if they choose, have the option to opt out with no penalty. If they say they don't want to play for safety or they want to be with family or whatever, they get a free pass to do so. My question for everybody here is, how much do you expect, if at all, for NHL players to use the opt-out clause for this 2014 playoff tournament. Tyler, I'll start with you. What do you think?
Yeah, like on Real Life, we had brought up the number 7.5 or 8.5 and done an over-under. And originally I took the over, but after like reading or listening to some radio hits with some of the insiders and stuff over the last week, it's really starting to sound like there won't be a lot. And I think I might put the number. I think there might be maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7. But like you're already hearing teams that like, oh yeah, Columbus has no one that's opting out. I don't think Edmonton's expected to have anyone opt out either. So I think I don't think we're going to see as many as I had initially thought 7 days ago when I had first started talking about this. So I think the number is going to be low.
Well,
Rick, what do you think? Sorry, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I think, Tyler, you were guilty of the same thing I was initially, is looking at baseball's numbers and saying, oh, that's quite a few people that have opted out in baseball, and you understand it. But the difference for me is, A, it's the playoffs, so it's going to be a shorter little stint away from their family. And then B, it's hockey players versus all the other sports. We always beg for more character and excitement from these players, but they're all programmed to just, kind of do and say what they need to do to get that paycheck at the end of the day and get the win for their team, right? And so I think the Edmonton Oilers is a prime example of a team that I can't imagine any of those players quitting on Connor McDavid, and there's no way Connor McDavid's going to let, this opportunity into the playoffs go away. So can't imagine giving Connor that call, being like, hey, Connor, I don't think I can make it.
But some guys might have actual reasons. Like if Matt Benning was like, I just had a baby, I'm not playing, I don't think Connor McDavid would be like, well, then you can go to hell. Like I think there's certain situations that are understandable.
I just think that I also think that, like I said, then you go back to the first one where it's only 5 weeks. It's not you're not talking about playing a 60-game season or anything. It's 5 weeks at the most. That's like, and then families can come into the bubble if they so choose. But yeah, right now it's like, you're not talking about removing yourself for months at a time. It's just a quick stint for a lot of teams. And then, the chance at winning the Stanley Cup, which is what everybody's hopefully trying to do.
I'd be kind of bummed out if I saw a guy to decide not to play because he was going to be away from his family for 5 weeks. Like, I get it if you're worried about the COVID, and I get it, you don't want to, infect your family or whatever. I get that. I completely get that. I'm completely behind it. Though I do believe it'll be like 2 or 3 max out in the NHL who don't want to come back and play. But they go to the Olympics. They're gone for whatever, 2 weeks, probably a little bit longer than that. They're okay with that. Like being away from home to your family for 5 weeks, it's a lot, but I don't think it's that bad. So it's going to happen any given time. I don't see anybody staying home because they want to, not playing because they want to stay at home. I can see a couple of guys maybe being worried. Maybe they're just more susceptible to getting this or something like that. But I don't think we'll catch many guys doing the baseball thing where they're just opting out entirely.
I was trying to look at the Oilers. I was looking at the Oilers roster to see, at some of the guys who are a little bit older that might have kids, like a Mike Green or whatever, maybe seeing if he would want to do something like that, like to opt out, spend time with his family. And I got completely sidetracked by the fact that Rick and Dan, this is going to hurt. There are only 6 Edmonton Oilers that were born in the 80s.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
6.
I'm starting to understand that. Like, dude, there's guys younger than me that are retiring. They're like, I've put in a good career.
We're aging out quickly, rapidly.
I feel like I need to say it again. Fucking 6.
And you know what I do? I'm lucky enough to, with my other job, is I get to, interact with these guys sometimes one-on-one, and I kind of get to visually see exactly how young some of these guys are. So yeah, I understand that too. There's the surprise factor there. That's kind of gone for me by now.
Taylor Yamamoto was born in 1998. Come on, man.
Dude, I've got waitresses at work where we've talked weird things before, and I'm like talking about like the Y2K. And I've got some, the Mrs. Mandy's, and I've got some around me that are, around my age. So that's fine. But then you've got the young ones out there who have no idea what I'm talking about.
Lafreniere is born in 2001.
I was gonna say, Rick, you probably have servers at the Pint who were born after Y2K, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, goodness.
If you guys ever want to feel, I don't know how it's gonna make you feel, but you come down and check IDs one time.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm not going to do that.
2002 for the record.
Unbelievable. I don't like that at all.
2002.
I graduated in 2003, man. This is bumming me out.
Dude, I was out of Grant McEwen in 01. I started Grant McEwen. The rat hole was still there.
R.I.P. to the rat hole. Tyler, do you know what the rat hole is?
We are old.
Goodness gracious. All right. R.I.P. to the rat hole. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and give my cold performer of the week to this fucking conversation right now. That's coming up later. But back to the question at hand, around the horn. Tyler set an over-under for us, opt-out players.
Since everyone thinks it's going to be low, okay, we're excluding guys with medical conditions. So, like, if Max Domi doesn't play or whatever, or like Capo Caco, I believe, is another guy who has diabetes. If those guys don't play, they don't count. So we're talking about guys for personal reasons.
Sure.
4.5.
Rick, what do you think? 4.5.
For non-medical reasons, I'm going 0.
Going with the under. Mr. Nation Dan, you got a 4.5. What are you looking at?
I was thinking 3 in my head before, so I'll say under.
So how many teams are playing here? So we got 24 times 12. Man, 4.5 isn't many.
It's not,
dude. But if you're going into this, the chances are you believe you can win that first round. And I was saying this to someone the other day. I remember 06 very vividly. You make the playoffs, anything can happen. Just make the dance. Everybody's in the dance right now. I'd be shocked unless someone is like, whether they have it already or they're like Tom Pody fragile to catching it.
I'm just gonna be different. I'm gonna go with the over. 4.5 isn't many considering how many players are playing. That's like a fraction of a percentage. So I'm just gonna be different just for the sake of argument. I'm going with the over.
I'm gonna say over because I actually think it could go over. Like I just think that in the next few days here, once things get signed off, players have that 3-day window. There'll be a handful of guys with maybe their wife is pregnant, maybe they have a newborn baby, and they'll just kind of go, you know what? As much as I want to be there for the guys in play, I don't want to miss the birth of my first child, or I don't want to, not be there for my wife while she's giving birth. So I think there'll be a few more that opt out.
There could be. So we got 2 of us going with the over, 2 with the under. Tyler at least had a reason for going with the over. I'm just an idiot, and I'm just being, I'm just saying over because the other 2 boys said under. So we'll see what happens.
Your Chuck. Oh wait, no, you're not. You're going with him.
Yeah, but see, like that's the thing, Dan. Was like I'm betting with your Remchuk when my heart of hearts knows that we should all fade you, Remchuk. That happens. We'll see. I hope nobody opts out. I hope everybody remains safe, and I hope this playoffs, despite the weirdness, is going to be as fun as we all hope it will be for the players included. Because, they're the ones playing. We just get to drink beers at home or on the pine patio. So we'll see what happens. Before we get to our hot and cold performers of the week, I do have expansion talk listed on here, and I'm curious, are you guys thinking about the expansion draft yet, or is it still one of those things that's too far away in the future to really worry about just yet?
Too far ahead for me. We still got a long ways to go until we get to that point. So that's honestly something I'm not even quite worried about right now.
I think for me, it's just been kind of preparing myself for the fact that one of our good players is going to go this time. We didn't have to make the big deal that all those other teams did to try and protect players like in the Vegas draft. But I'm kind of preparing myself for the fact that a good player that I like and that I really like on this team and one of this team is probably going to go. That's as far as I've gone with it so far.
Rick, what do you think?
I'm not horribly worried yet. I know there's little things you got to do, like don't let Bush play a couple whatever amount of games. So you know what, take care of that part. But they don't have the stipulations out there. They don't have the rules and regulations out there. It's not necessarily going to be the exact same as last one. So I'm not overly worried. I'll keep an eye on things as a GM, like don't play the Bush type of thing. But after that, I'm not worried at all.
So Gregor, the reason I had this on the agenda for this week was Gregor wrote about the expansion draft this week at Oilersnation.com, and I was just kind of like, I hadn't really thought about it at all. And like Dan said, there's going to be probably a decent player that leaves, unless Uncle Ken weaves some magic, which, with Neil for Lucic, we've seen him do it before. So I also wonder how the approach is going to be different this time around than what happened with Vegas, because, even when Vegas, the expansion draft was over, nobody expected them to do what they did. And there was some of the players that got taken or not taken. Like I'm thinking of Florida. I don't remember who Florida protected but didn't protect and then lost.
They wanted to keep Matheson and Pissick, so they made the move to let go of Smyth and Marchessault.
Which, again, was bananas, right? So, like, I'm curious to see what the GMs have learned since then and how they approach it on round 2, because Vegas, that draft wasn't very long ago. So
you won't see the same mistakes made this time. And there's going to be it's not going to be exactly the same as the Vegas draft either. So
we shall see. We shall see. Before Tyler gets his buttons ready for this week's Hot Cold Performers of the Week, I just want to bring up a little bit of Oilers history for you guys today. Today in Edmonton Oilers history, Craig McTavish, July 10th. Today in Edmonton Oilers history, Craig McTavish, in 2013, traded Magnus Pajärvi and a second-round pick to the St. Louis Blues for David Perron. And as I was putting this together for the site today,
good trade.
That was a really good trade. That was a really good trade. And his first
because they ended up
Oilers,
flipping Perron too pretty quick, right?
Yeah, so I'll get to that. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, Tyler. The conclusion of this story isn't nearly as fun as you may have thought. In his first season with the Oilers, Perron played in 78 games and set a career high in goals at 28. He still hasn't matched it yet, and 29 assists for 57 points. But he also brought a different flavor to the Oilers that they hadn't seen. I love a good shit disturber that has skill, and that is absolutely what David Perron is. So he was a lot of fun to watch. So KRV and a second rounder that turned into Barbashev got traded on July 10, 2013 for David Perron. Good trade. The next season, though, Perron asked for a trade out of Edmonton. And does anybody remember what they got for him?
Klinkhammer and a first.
Did you look?
No, I knew that. I'm trying to think of who the first round pick ended up being, though.
That's Barzell.
That's Matthew Barzell. Which, sucks. Of course, that first round pick turned into fucking Griffin Reinhart. So, actually, a couple of good trades in terms of David Perron, but how it played out, not so much. Not so much. Mr. Yaremchuk, please get your buttons ready. It's time for the Oodle Noodle Hot and Cold Performers of the Week. As always, Oodle Noodle is donating 10% of all in-store orders to local charities. They're also doing food donations around the city. Today, they donated 400 meals at the Mustard Seed. If you are out and about and hungry, visit any of Oodle Noodle's 13, soon-to-be 14 locations. The Hamptons location is opening very quickly. Grab yourself something to eat and know that you're doing your part for a great cause as well. As we always do, we're going to start with the cold performers of the week, and I'll just go ahead and get started with my cold performer of the week. I'm going to go tell a little story now. Before we started this podcast, I was a couple minutes late. I was walking Frank, took him out for a quick pish, let him do his thing, and as I was walking back to my house, I saw a little white floof dog wandering around the complex by himself, nobody around, so I was like, okay, shit. So I threw Frank in the house really quickly, I grabbed his leash, and I went out to grab this dog. And my plan was I was going to grab the dog, bring him into my yard, call the number on his collar that I could see, and then deal with it after the podcast was over. What actually happened, though, is this dog started cruising around one specific unit in the complex. And just to give you a frame of mind, there's like 400 units in my complex. It's a very big complex. So he started kind of kicking around there, and I'm like, oh, maybe he lives at this one. So I was going to go knock on the door. And as I approach, a lady comes out of the house and starts yelling at me that I was going to steal her dog or something. I don't really know what she was getting at, but she's like, what are you doing with my dog? I was like, whoa, lady, he's out of your yard. He's cruising around. There are cars driving by. I was going to help him. All I was trying to do was help this dog. That's all I was trying to do. So my cold performer of the week is the lady that yelled at me for trying to help her dog. Thank you. Nation Dan, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Well, Bag Milk, you stole mine, so no. But my cold performer of the week was, I'm going to put on my Tyler Yaremchuk hat here, because I went out for my first round of golf this year, and probably going to be my only round of golf, but was out at a golf course out in Fort Saskatchewan, and my cold performer of the week is Edmonton's monsoon season. This has been a tough stretch of rainy days. I know, Bag Milk, you probably feel the pain that I do with walking the pups through the water lakes that are our front lawns right now, and then trying to golf in essentially what turned the golf course into a bog was tough to do and not so fun. Came home with a nice muddy leg for each side, and my cold performer of the week, Edmonton's monsoon season.
Oh, that's cold.
Okay, before we move on to the next person with the Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week, the three of us, I want to do a side bet. So Dan said this was probably his only round of the year. How many golf balls did Nation Dan lose yesterday at Fortin View Golf Course near Fort Saskatchewan? Again, we're playing Price is Right rules here, gentlemen. Real quick, how many balls did Nation Dan lose? I'm going to go 4. I'm going to start the bidding at 4.
I'll say 5.
Rick?
Well, to be honest with you guys, I was going with 6, so I'll stick with 6.
Dan, the answer.
It was over 6 for sure. It was my best round of my life, but I shot a 121, so not saying much.
That's where I'm at too, man. I'm a bad golfer, but I love it.
I had the best round of my life the other day too, actually. I was very excited.
What did you shoot?
A 90 for the first time ever.
Woo,
I was dialed in. I missed a fucking 8-foot putt to break 90. It was heartbreaking.
If I break 100, I'm always pumped. So, little side bet. Shout out to Dan losing 8 balls.
Yeah, it was something like 8 or 10.
I'd be right there with you, buddy. I'd be right there with you. Rick, your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Well, I don't know where to blame this, but a very sad piece of news popped up yesterday, the day before. Just a big part of Edmonton just closing down, whether, because of COVID or 2020 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
But just these little, we'll just call them small businesses, little bars. It's billiard club that's closed down. It sucks to see these little places. Dude, I've got so many stories about there back in, early 2000s. Everyone's been, it's just sucks to see all these little things just kind of go away. Not for any other reason than 2020 or COVID or whatever you want to blame it on. Blame it on whoever you want. That's just, I'm just tired of seeing this stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I saw it too. Like, I spent some nights at the billiard club. I haven't gone in a long time, but I did spend some nights there.
Yeah, same here. Same here. I mean, it's just getting a little close to home now. It's a struggle, this industry right now, man. It's supposed to be the fun place and the place where everyone can go out and kind of like get away from all their fears and worries and their shitty 9-to-5s or whatever the hell it is. But it's tough to see these places go, and it's tough to see any of the places that are still open right now is kind of struggling. And you can only employ half the amount of people you're employing. It's a tough time right now. So yeah, just whether it be 2020, COVID, or whatever the hell you want to call it, just this whole time needs to stop. We need to get back to it. Needs to go away. We need to be getting back to normal life.
100%. Shout out to the billiard club. 27 great years on White Ave. Sad to see
2
them
for 1
go.
bottles of beer on Thursdays, way back when.
I love it, Mr. Yaremchuk.
2 bottles.
Your Oodle Noodle cold performer of the week.
Yeah, mine is not nearly as important as that. I'm just still pissed at the NHL for that damn cap recapture penalty, man. Like, these teams knew what the rules were when they signed these contracts. Everyone knew what game they were playing. And because 1 or 2 teams might end up getting screwed, they're like, oh, and by the way, we're completely changing this rule because we don't want the Nashville Predators to go bankrupt in 2025. Like, it's annoying. This league, like you guys brought up, where's the bailout for the Oilers? How come they never get any help with their cap problems? Oh, but Nashville gets the help. So I didn't like that at all.
Flipping the ledger to the positives. In the last 7 days of our lives, it is the Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week. I'm just going to go ahead and start it. Juice WRLD's new album dropped. Super good. If you're into hip-hop, I recommend downloading Juice WRLD new album. He is my Hot Performer of the Week.
Cash money.
The look on his face when he just realized he needs to press the button.
I was also
this
curious.
Might be my favorite part of the whole podcast is what Yaremchuk remembers he has to hit a button.
Yeah, we've only been doing it every single week.
For a guy who literally pushes buttons for a living, I forget it a lot.
Not a Juice WRLD guy?
No, I like Juice WRLD.
New album's good. I'm going to go to you then, Tyler. Your Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week.
Zach Kassian gets my Hot Performer of the Week. He brought back the cast chops, baby, and they are beautiful.
Yes.
Nothing says playoff hockey in Edmonton like Zach Cassian growing out some sweet-ass facial hair.
Put some respect on my name.
Does this officially mean we're allowed to roll in our COVID facial hair into playoff facial hair? Because he didn't start from scratch. He had those things carved in when he got here. This, you guys can see it here. I ain't taking this off. We're getting a running start into the playoff season, so we're gonna keep this beard going.
I mean, why not? 1,000%. I think you should. I can't grow facial hair worth of shit, so it doesn't really. I'm gonna grow a playoff beard, of course, but like, it doesn't do anything for me. But what I have done is I haven't got a haircut since early February, and my hair is obnoxiously long right now, and I love it. I'm going to see how long it goes, man. I'm going to go full Fabio. If it gets down to my shoulders by the time I get a haircut, then you know what? This is my excuse to grow out metal hair, and that's what I'm going to do.
Man, no haircuts since mid-March, I think.
And you look great, buddy. You look great. Mr. Nation Dan, your Oodle Noodle Hot Performer of the Week.
Well, it's not a place for shameless plugs, but here I go. It's myself for the and for the Twitch stream that we've been running through Oilersnation.com and as well as on Twitch under official Oilers Nation. We're in game 56 tonight of our simulations that have been going since the outbreak started, and trying to give people an escape to go there. But what is really cool is that I think we're going to be able to change this over into a playoff digital watch party area. So if you're, just at home or chilling at work or whatever, watching the games, you're going to be able to chat with all kinds of Oiler fans in game. Bag Milk will be in there, hopefully. Wanye Gretz. We can get Rick. We can get Tyler. You can have all kinds of conversations with all kinds of people that maybe you wouldn't be able to have that conversation with otherwise on our Twitch stream at official Oilers Nation.
That was hot. That's hot.
Wrapping us up, Hot Performer of the Week, Mr. Rick.
Limes and birds. Birds and limes. Scooter life, boys. Scooter life. I guess that's how you get around downtown right now. I know I've been complaining about the construction the last couple of weeks. Now I don't mind it as much because I'm taking limes and birds and I'm going right down the old bike lane there. Get home real quick.
This is hot.
Gotta love a scooter. And it's funny you brought that up because last night I was at a buddy's house and we were having. He lives within. I should preface this by saying he lives within walking distance. So we were having a couple of wobblies, and we were like, I wonder if there are any scooters in our neighborhood right now. Unfortunately, there was not. So I'm jealous of your downtown scooter lifestyle.
I think they've done something where they don't go that far anymore.
Rude. It is rude.
They knock down like the kilometers. They go down to like 2 kilometers an hour or something like that once you pass a certain border or something like that.
Shenanigans. This is shenanigans. But what's not shenanigans is the four of us wrapping up episode 94, the Ryan Smyth episode of Oilersnation Radio. As always, I want to thank Sherwood Ford the Giant, skipthedishes.ca, and Oodle Noodle for making it all possible. And I want to thank all of you for listening. Oh, and this is something that you guys didn't know. I found our rankings on Apple Podcasts this week.
Are they good?
Out of how many?
We are the 199th ranked sports podcast on Apple Podcasts.
We did it. Yay.
We broke the top 200. We are the 199th ranked sports podcast on Apple Podcasts.
198. We coming for that ass.
Where's Real Life?
Real Life was, I got this written down somewhere. It was 184.
2 guys in the goalie?
I didn't see 2 guys in the goalie.
But above them?
I'm not sure. But what I did read is breaking the top 200, regardless on Apple Podcasts, is there's a lot of podcasts out there that talk sports. So congratulations to all 3 of you and everybody listening. Let's get up to 198.
We got goals now, team. We got goals. That's we're going to start climbing this mountain like the mountain climber on Price is Right.
Spit and Chicklets, we're coming for you. Joe Rogan Experience, we're coming for you. If you're listening to this right now, please tell a friend because I want to get to at least 198.
Let's get us up there. Let's get in the top 150.
Gotta love it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Oilers Nation Radio, episode 94. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Shout out, Damien.
Best wishes.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, a member of the Nation Network of Podcasts. Make sure to follow us on all of our social media to stay up to date and never miss a podcast.